Thank you, everybody, for taking the time. My name is Derek Wessler. I'm one of the co-founders of Junction. I thought I'd introduce Junction. We're a fairly young company, just a few years old. Co-founders came from McGraw-Hill, myself included. So I thought I would start here with what guides us. And when we started Junction, why we actually started it. And we started it based off of a couple of premises that have then flowed through to how we design our courseware and our product. First, instructors remain at the center of learning. No matter how much technology we throw at students and how much technology we build, education is still about putting an instructor right in the middle of it. And what we want to do is enhance the interactions that instructors can have with students and make those more valuable. Second, collaboration among students still remains key. Learning is still social, right? And having students being put into environments where they're only focused on the computer, not necessarily going to lead to the greatest outcomes. Third, technology. It doesn't matter how sophisticated it is. If a student or a professor or an instructional designer can't look at it and figure it out in a second, it doesn't matter. It's really got to be easy for students to use. We see what students do today with their phones. If they can't pick it up and figure it out, you're losing precious time learning. And finally, students shouldn't be forced to pay hundreds of dollars here. There's enough great content out there, and we are OER focused, that students should be able to get a great learning experience for $50 or less per course. And I will say that we do focus on the introductory level courses, so that's where most of our work is done. So what is Junction? Junction's an adaptive courseware delivery platform. We are on the courseware side, so we deliver complete courses. Our courses are entirely editable and configurable, but they come prepackaged and complete. We focus on three key stakeholders, obviously students, instructors, and instructional designers. And as I mentioned before, for students, they need a fast, easy, engaging experience. It needs to be very, very simple, and I'll walk you through a demo and show you some of the screens that we have. We also believe that from most students tell us that video is what they go to first, and whether it's going through it through their course material or whether going to YouTube first, video first is something that we have found students definitely prefer. For instructors and institutions, I mentioned complete courses. So we will deliver a complete course that you can deliver straight out of the box if you choose, or you can customize it as you like, reordering things, adding new learning objectives and new assessment items to those learning objectives, adding new content. Everything is entirely configurable, but as Dale mentioned before, instructors, we need to find stipends for instructors to go build things, and if you're thinking about something for the fall, frankly, we're 7 months out, you've got to be thinking about that now. We want to shortcut that for instructors so you don't have to actually go ahead and take 6 months to build a course where there's already a lot of great material and great thinking and great structures already out there. I'll talk a bit about our adaptive experience. We believe in an adaptive experience that still maintains a common experience for students, and that gets to that social learning. Is a bit different than some of the other players in our particular view. Is that students collaborate, and if every student is using a very different experience, that hinders that. So we believe in personalization for students, but we also believe in allowing students to collaborate around specific pieces of material that all students will see. So how do we do this? Our course material, and I'll speak a bit about how we've developed our courses and technology, right? This is the blend of technology and course material. I think we've seen an awful lot of things out there where there is course material that is put into a platform and it doesn't work quite right, or you have this great platform, and you try to put in your own material and maybe it doesn't work quite that well. So for Junction, we've developed out these two in conjunction together. Our course material, as I mentioned, it's open educational resource based. So we've had subject matter experts go through, identified high quality OER, curate it and sequence it in an application for you. Variety of content, so it's reading, it's videos, it's activities, it's quizzes, it's discussion boards, sequenced out for students, and quality tested. So we've been in the market for about 4 years. We've had our product in market for 3 years live in classroom. So thousands, tens of thousands of students have gone through this and tested this, as well as hundreds of professors. From a technology side, simple and easy, right? And I'll show you all of these pages. We believe that the platform needs to support the entire study experience. And if we sit in a commons area and we look at students, right, they're going through the material and it's like, oh, I need to get to my notes. They've got to dig into their backpack. Oh, I've got to get to my ebook. They have to get to their ebook. Oh, I need to talk to a friend. They got to pick up their phone. We build the platform to cover the entire study experience, making it very easy for students to go through that, knowing that every time a student has to break the study experience, look away from the screen and pick up their phone to text a friend about coursework, you run the risk of losing them. We also support students outside the study experience. So we have an early alert system that will message students periodically based off of their performance when they're not working, because Sunday night they're off doing whatever and they need a reminder that, hey, you have a quiz due on Thursday, and you haven't logged in 4 days. And finally, reports aligned to actions, and I'll show you some of those reports. So let's have a look at Junction. This is a sample page from a Junction lesson. This happens to come from an Introduction to Psychology course. This is a memory lesson. All of our pages, we try to maximize screen real estate for all of the content. And so we bring in short instructions. Learning objectives are exposed to students on every page. So we believe that students should know exactly what it is that they're learning. All of the content, that triangle of learning objective to content to assessment, is inherent within Junction. So all of this content is then aligned to that learning objective, right? And then it's paired with videos, text readings, and other material. All of this is customizable. So if you're a psychology professor and say, I have a better video, I don't want to use this one. I actually have one of myself. Great, put it in there. Everything's entirely customizable and editable within the adaptive system. I talked about making it a complete system. So note-taking. So students can take notes directly within the application. Those notes are then tied to this particular page. So for students, when they want to come back and say, I need to edit something in that note, I need to change something or add something, it's not, my notes from that day are in my notebook as opposed to someplace else. So we're making it as easy to use for students as possible. Text readings. We bring in open educational resources. Most of our courses use OpenStax texts. So a student will navigate to a text page. You'll notice first that this page, if you actually navigate it as a student, you're taken directly to the page that you need to start reading. Again, make it very, very simple for students so they can click on something and go. It's an ebook reader. Students can download these textbooks, so it's very affordable and easy for them to use as well. And at the end of the lesson, there are the lesson quizzes, and this is where the adaptive engine kicks in. You'll notice I've gone ahead, I've taken that assessment, and I've got my study center, which is available at any point within the application. Our algorithms will look at multiple factors, so they'll look at performance against learning objective, how well you mastered that learning objective. Did you just pass it, or are you actually well over it? We incorporate Ebbinghaus curves, so did you do this 4 weeks ago and barely passed, in which case it's going to be re-triggered again for you as a student to go back and reassess and review that material. So we're looking at a number of different factors, as well as some of that metacognitive experience. You'll notice that there's a bookmark function. There are a lot of students that are going to go through material and they may say, I actually did okay on the quiz, but I still am just not that comfortable with it. I want to throw it into my study center because I want to actually go back and manage that. Students can then go back to all of the learning pages. They come back to a familiar interface. So this is the page we were originally on. If this is flagged for me and I need to go back, I'm going to come back to the same page. It's familiar. Maybe when I went through it the first time, the Super Bowl was on, or my kids had just come home, or whatever it was. And it wasn't so much the material, it's just that I was busy. I can either go back to the material, or I can use a slide-up panel. And there's a slide-up panel on every page. It's unique to every page. And that panel is going to have the material that you need if you want to go ahead and master that. That material is text, that material is images, it's additional videos, all right there for a student. So it's a familiar interface, it's very easy for students to use. And it keeps the student driving the adaptive experience. So the system is going ahead and make those kinds of recommendations for what a student needs to do, but we do believe that a student should have some control over the experience, and that will also reinforce a little bit of motivation for a student when they go ahead and they drive that experience. In terms of reports, and I can go through these at the table in more detail, the most important thing here, you'll notice on the left side of the report, there's an engagement dial. So one of the things we're doing for professors, we are breaking down the class into your students that are on track, passing, your students that are disengaged, and your students that are struggling. If you click on that, you'll obviously see all the students in those different buckets. But we know that professors want to manage students who are struggling, meaning they're engaged in the material and they're trying, but they're not doing well, manage them very differently than if you were actually a disengaged student. So we're going to provide that to students. We're also going to be sending messages to students about once a week outside the application to their phones, depending on their performance. And they're going to get a very positive message, hey, you're doing great, keep up the good work. You may get a message, hey, you may want to talk to your professor, we know you're trying, keep up the effort. Or if you're disengaged, you may get something that recommends you go back into the course material. We've had a great response so far. I put up some of the stats before. In terms of usage, we see about 2.5 hours usage per student per week in the application. That breaks down, we usually see about 2 to 3 sessions per week, so students are coming back frequently. They're coming back on their desktops, their tablets, and their phones. So we're mobile ready. We have an iPad app. We know that for students, right, they're on the bus, they're on their iPads, they're on their phones. They want to engage in different ways. And they're using the different kinds of devices for different things, obviously more reading, long-form kinds of things on a desktop. We're also fortunate enough to have won an OLC award recently with some of the work we had done at Tougaloo College. They've used our biology product, tried for a number of semesters to try to get some engagement in online learning, and had some great success with us. We have a number of off-the-shelf courses. You can have a look at those. We also do custom course development. We'll work with institutions to build out specific courses. We also have an editing tool, so individual professors or instructional design teams can also build out tools, and we have had a number of professors build out complete courses in the application as well.